So Pesach sheini has enormous relevance, and actually we are meant to eat matzah tonight. They took the Korban Pesach on the 14th of the year, but they actually ate it on the 15th, which is tonight. So we can still do the mitzvah of eating the matzah. So what I learned, the first thing I learned, is that it's not just a nice or fun thing, that there are actually two mitzvahs that the Rambam brings, Numbers 57 and 58, if anybody would like to check on it. One is the mitzvah of actually bringing the Paschal lamb, and the other one is that Pesach sheini is actually a holiday. And what I realized, and I'll come back to it at the end, it's a little bit like Purim. Although Purim is a big thing, and in Israel it's a big thing. And it seems to be one of the lightest holidays, Purim, but we actually know when Mashiach comes, it's going to be one of the biggest holidays. And you'll see that Pesach sheini in its own way, which is even less known than Purim, actually is really a big yom tov, a big holiday. So I'm going to go through the 4 levels that we can learn, thanks to Rabbi Ruskin, and then I'm going to go give you a few really practical tips of how we can, what we've learned about it, we can actually use in our daily lives so that Pesach sheini can be relevant and important and even a little bit exciting. So Rabbi Ruskin says the first thing is pshat. So what we learn, what Shirley was saying, is that it's actually in the Torah that Hashem told the Jews the second year after they left Mitzrayim, when they built the Mishkan, he told the Jews that they need to take a Paschal lamb. And what had happened was at the inauguration of the Mishkan, Nadav and Avihu had passed away, as Rabbi Ruskin says, they OD'd on Hashem. And so 2 of Aaron's cousins, Michelle and Atzapon, they removed the bodies. They did a mitzvah. They removed the bodies and buried them. And what happened then is that they were now impure when it came to bring the Paschal lamb. And so they went up to Moshe, as Shirley said, and they said, why should we be diminished? It's not fair. And Moshe then said, I'll find out. And he went and he spoke to Hashem, and Hashem said, okay, they can do it now. We can make a second Pesach sheini, so that they can. And as Shirley said, there are a whole lot of halakhic things which we'll come to about all the people that were allowed to do it. But originally in the Torah, it was just meant to be after the Mishkan and then after the inauguration, but then the second day was inaugurated. What is the remez of it? What is the hint? And this is what blew me away when I first heard about it. That Pesach sheini actually alludes to the coming of Mashiach. So Pesach, the first redemption, we know is incomplete. We know that's why we break the Afikomen. It wasn't complete. We were redeemed. The second temple was also incomplete. And so Pesach sheini is an opportunity to do another quantum leap. Pesach, the first Pesach, there was a quantum leap. Hashem passed over the houses, but Nisan is an opportunity for us to do this massive leap. If you need to change, or what Rabbi Jacobson talks about, free yourself from your addictions, could be anything you have, anything, whether it's an addiction to food or alcohol, or whether it's an emotional addiction to self-pity, or whether it's something that's holding you back. The time of Nisan, the emanations, there's a quantum leap. You can jump, you can exceed your growth in a way that you can't at any other time of the year. So Rabbi Ruskin says Pesach sheini, the quantum leap, is so great that we cannot even compare it to the first. So this is what I mean. I thought, what is Pesach sheini? But it's actually a leap that's even greater than the first. So it represents what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. He says, when we came out of Egypt, it's compared to the light of the candle. Mashiach, when he comes, is compared to the light of the sun, which can never be extinguished. So this possibility in Pesach sheini is actually much greater than actually Pesach, which will all unfold as we go along. The third thing, Drosh, is all about the halachas, and these are very complicated because everyone thinks it was just, as I say, the people that couldn't. And as Shirley says, there were people who deliberately didn't, there were people that were far away. But there's also discussions, what if a minor comes from mitzvah bat mitzvah age during this time, can they take the korban? And then there's discussion, what if there's a convert? So there's a lot of halachas around it, and in the end, the majority opinion is that everybody, whatever their reasons, should partake. And one of the reasons is because it's not just about you missed the opportunity. In and of itself, it's an opportunity. So even if you weren't obliged before because you were a minor or you weren't Jewish yet or whatever, you still have that opportunity. It's the reason it's a holiday, not just a mitzvah. It's this opportunity for us to tap into this great quantum leap for something completely different and better to where we've been before. Now the fourth thing is Sod, which is the mysticism, the Kabbalah. So he says the first Pesach is connected to Malchus, and the second, this, is connected to Yesod. Pesach sheini is connected to Yesod, which means bonding. The first Pesach is all about running away from evil. So Malchus is kingship. Hashem came in. We're in awe of the king. He gives us a lot of laws to do. We are afraid of punishment. We're running away from evil. He tells us run away from evil. But we still have an ego that could want to do evil. And Hashem takes us out of Egypt, but we haven't transformed ourselves. We still want to do that evil. And that's why we don't have promise of Pesach. Now what's interesting on Pesach sheini, which is also part of the halakhic discussion, is you can have matzah and you can have chometz. Because it's a different phase. We don't have to get rid of our ego as we do in Pesach, where we're just running away from evil. What are we doing? So the first month, Nisan, is our first step towards Hashem. And the second month, Iyar, is when we actually do the second step, and that is where we run to do good. So in Nisan we're running away from evil, but in Iyar we're running to do good. It's a very different thing. We say it's Sphira, which means like a sapphire. There's a light shining on us and inspiring us to do good. So it's a very different time to the first Pesach. The first Pesach we're leaving Mitzrayim, we're running away from evil. But this Pesach we're running to do good. A little bit what Shirley was saying, where they wanted to do the mitzvah. Iyar also, there are lots of different ways that we talk about Iyar, but we say the acronym also represents Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, and Rachel, and we say they were all chariots. They didn't have egos of their own. They totally were connected to God. So this is our opportunity to run to do good and to connect to God. He says this very beautifully. He says, the leap here that we do on Pesach sheini is beyond time and space. It brings additional perfection and completion, and we can create a reality that never existed before. Okay, so that's all the halakhic and mystical, all the things that I could share with you. And now I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and interpretations about how we can apply it in our lives. So my first point is, as Shirley says, it's never too late to make up for your past mistakes, even if you sin deliberately. So that even if you go, I don't want to do it, and then a few weeks later you go, oops, actually I do want to do it now, I'm sorry I didn't do it, then we know that a Jew can always do teshuvah. It's not a new concept, and in fact, we can do teshuvah every day, we can do teshuvah at Yom Kippur, we do teshuvah, teshuvah is very much part of it. We can have sinned and we do teshuvah. But I wanted to talk to you about a different type of teshuvah. And this is something that Rabbi Jacobson talks about, that we need to think about a different reality. Often when we think about teshuvah, we think, I'm bad, I sinned, I did wrong. But actually, we want to move away from that reality because we live in an age of self-esteem. It's interesting, we know that often there's knowledge that reflects other knowledge. And Torah is very much about a Jew should have self-esteem. So how do we do teshuvah with self-esteem? There's a cockroach. Okay.
Shabbos, we can kill it.
We can. It doesn't bother me, but if I want to,
I don't want to stand on it.
just kick it out, yeah. Okay. I don't want to squish it out. So Rabbi Jacobson talks about a thing called Vidoi Maisa. And he does it really, really, it's a very intricate thing. That if you were a farmer or you owned any land and produce at the time of the temple, for the 7 years until the sabbatical year, there are all these different laws. So the first year, you have to give a percentage to the Kohen and a percentage to the Levi. I didn't write down what all the percentages were, but they're different. The first and third, I think, are the same. It's quite complicated. However, on the 4th and the 7th year, year 3, I was right, the 4th and the 7th year, all your produce, the whole amount had to go to the poor, to the orphans and to the widows. And you had to make a confession. And so what the farmer would do, and there was wording that they had to say, he would say to Hashem, I have removed all the sacred portions. I gave it to the Levite, the orphan, and the widow. I did everything you commanded me. Now look down and bless me. So as he says, where is the confession? He's not saying I did anything wrong. He's saying, actually, Hashem, I did everything right. Now look down and bless me. So this is an incredible thing. Because what he's saying is that only someone who's capable of recognizing their positive qualities are capable of admitting their mistakes. If you think you are lowly, if you think you're despicable, then you think your mistakes are inevitable. You can't help it. This is just how you are. You're never going to improve. You're stuck. But if you realize actually how much I do right, then you can actually make allowances and grow from what you do wrong. So he gives a lovely example. He says, imagine, a husband comes home and he says to his wife, I do everything right. He says, where's the confession? But if you would go, look, I'm a good husband and I do a lot of things right, but I know I want to do better. I can do that better. I'm acknowledging I did that wrong. You're going to get much further and you're going to feel much closer to the person than the husband who says, when you start saying, honey, you left a mess. I know, I get everything wrong, don't I? I'm always right harmony. And you can't work with a person like that. And that person says, well, that's me. I can never please my wife. I do everything wrong. What do I expect? But if a guy goes, you know what, or if we do it, but I'm just using this as an illustration, he goes, you know what, I actually want to be good, and I actually am capable of doing good. And yes, I did leave a mess, and I will rectify it. Then you have the biggest chance of actually doing tshuva. So the type of tshuva we need to do now, as I said, is not from a space of, I'm a bad person and this is another thing I'm doing wrong. We actually have to know, this is who I am, and I actually do a lot right, and I can continue to do right, and I can do better because I want to do better, and therefore I have enough self-esteem to look at what I'm not doing right without it crumbling me. Because when you feel bad, I always say the people that don't come for therapy are often the people who have such low self-esteem that to walk into a room and go, I'm doing something wrong, completely crushes them. You have to have enough to go in and go, I'm ready to admit what I'm doing wrong because I know I'm okay in a lot of other ways. That's what you want to aim for. That he says actually the quote from Shira Shirim, I'm black but I'm beautiful. He says that's what it means. I know I'm beautiful. I might be black. I might have had a stain, but I know that I'm beautiful. So this is what you want to hold on to, that you are okay. And in essence, you are beautiful. And in essence, you are elevated because you have a godly soul. And Hashem has created you. And every day Hashem restores your soul and says, I believe in you and you're worth it and you need it in this world. And yes, you made a mistake, and it's in the context of that, Hashem, I'm doing the best, bless me to continue doing better. So this was a very big thing that Aaron's cousins did. They were saying to Hashem, we want to do more. They actually hadn't sinned. It wasn't their fault what happened, but they wanted to do more. So recognize your greatness and do teshuvah with that in mind. And be aware of that when you rebuke people around you. It's not the sandwich method of it's much deeper than that. It's when you look at someone and you go, in a real way, you're doing a great job. You just need to tweak a few things over there. But really, in essence, and who you are is valuable and important and beautiful, but we need to fix that stain. He gave another example, and I was thinking about a car that I once had, because I had a car that I let everybody drive and learn to drive, and some of you have driven that car. And I didn't care because it had so many dents. I had a friend who said to me, how could I drive a car like that? She didn't think it was befitting. I said, I'm free. I don't care who bumps it. I don't care who scrapes it. I didn't have friends from overseas that drove it. I did not care. But once I got a new car, no one touched my car because suddenly every little dent had a whole different meaning, and that's the whole thing. If you think you're a beaten up, trashy car, what's an extra dent? You're never going to change. That's who you are. But if you know that you are someone special, not by anything else, but because you have this godly soul, and you can hold that feeling and then look at your behaviors, that is really the right way to do teshuvah in our generation.
Can I ask you a question?
My life to flow, sorry. Okay. The second point that we learned from Pesach sheini is that even if a reality did not exist before, you can create a new reality. Now this is the power of a Jew. We have a godly soul and we are capable of creating a new reality. So when Michelle and Atzafon came to Moshe, they started off saying, it's not fair, why are we diminished? We did nothing wrong. So Rabbi New has a very interesting take on it. He says Hashem made the laws of defilement, if you come in close with the dead person you have. Then he makes the laws of the second Paschal lamb, and they going, you've made laws that excluding us through no fault of our own. And what they were saying to Hashem is, why are you sticking to your laws? You God. You made those laws, you're above those laws, and as Jews we're above those laws. So that was their argument. They said to Hashem, statistically, someone is always going to die. There's always going to be someone who's impure. So why are you sticking to those laws? The first Pesach is all about laws. Don't we all know about the laws of Homers? And there's so many laws. Pesach sheini, we can create a new reality. Just because something is that way, really we don't have to stick to it. We can be above nature and we can actually tell Hashem that we're not going with that. So one of the examples that we give, actually I saw in one of the Shabbos things, I've seen that story a few times, people who were told they're never going to have babies, and then whether it's through a brocha or for davening or whatever, they have a baby. Just because doctors said you're never going to have a baby, there are quite a few people who go, you know what? I'm not accepting that. I'm going to keep trying until I have a baby. There are people who will tell you that doctors have said to you, this is going to be the pattern of your illness, and people go, no, I'm not accepting that reality. We don't have to accept the statistics. Rabbi Tatz talks about it in terms of earning a living. He talks about that if you want to believe that my work is what brings in money, and if you believe I earn this per hour and this is what I'm going to make, he says then Hashem limits you to that. But if you actually go, I'm going to work, but I expect brokers to come in from all different areas, and you don't check your bank balance too often, it will actually happen. If you want to limit yourself and go, look, I can only earn so much because this is what I do, then Hashem will actually limit you. But if you're open to the possibility that there are other realities, there will be other realities. So this is the whole thing, that we can achieve anything. So I wanted to share with you something that Rabbi Garari does in his mindfulness. For those of you who might know what mindfulness is, excuse me, but I'm going to just talk about it very basically. So there's so many people teaching mindfulness in so many different ways, but basically the simple thing about mindfulness is being fully present in the moment. And the way that very commonly they teach with mindful meditation is to just focus on your breath and be fully in the moment. So just notice how you're breathing, and sometimes people will say notice what you can hear, you notice how you're sitting, notice where your feet are on. It's being fully in the present. Rabbi Ferrari, if you've ever heard his mindfulness, it's actually also really mind-blowing because he talks about the fact that because we're created in God's image, just like God recreates the world every minute, we have the potential to recreate our reality every minute. So I'm going to ask you all, those of you who are comfortable, to close your eyes. I'm doing a very simple version of what Rabbi Garari does, but really it will be better if I just do it this way. You don't have to worry, it's not relaxation, you don't have to relax. I just want you to close your eyes and just notice your breathing. And so simple mindfulness will just be noticing your breath going in and out of your nostrils. It will be saying to you, how are you sitting? Where are your feet? Where are your hands? What can you hear? That's regular mindfulness in various forms. What Rabbi Garari says is notice your breath. And the word for neshama is the same as breath, neshima. And every time you breathe in, be aware that you have a godly soul. And every time you breathe in and out, be aware that like Hashem, you can recreate yourself or recreate your reality at any minute. Hashem did not create the world and move on. He recreates the world every moment. So when you're in a moment, you have a choice every minute of every day to recreate the way you see yourself, to recreate the way you treat people, to recreate your reality. You have a neshama, you have a breath, and you can use mindfulness to change your reality, to be in touch with your godly self. Okay, you can open your eyes. Just very, very simply put. It's a very, very powerful idea. When people go, how can I change my reality? You can, because you have a piece of God in you. And it's a very important thing to realize what your reality does. So I wanted to just read you something that was in this week's, one of the things that I printed off from Tzemach Tzedek, but just another, the same idea but in so many different ways. They're talking about wealthy or poor. So it says, our sages teach, a rich man is rich only due to his mindset. A poor man is poor only due to his mindset. A truly wealthy man is confident that even were he to be set down in a jungle with nothing to his name, he'd be able to establish himself financially in a matter of time. Conversely, a person with a poor man's mentality will soon find himself impoverished even after he was given great wealth. What makes a man wealthy? Our sages teach us who is wealthy, one who's satisfied with his portion. That doesn't mean that he does not want to make more money. He may, but he does not feel pressure to do so. He feels the luxury of being patient, of waiting for opportunities and then using them to the maximum of his capacity. A poor man, by contrast, is not satisfied. He feels that he must make money. He's obsessed with want and need, and those feelings cause him to act rashly, trying this scheme and that to make it big. What's the inevitable result? He loses. But he's lost far more than money. He's lost his life because his energy, his hopes, and his dreams were focused on the money that he felt he had to make. Instead of enjoying life for what it is, sharing quality time with family and friends, he was always looking to what it could be when he made the money. So your mindset, you can have very little but have a rich mindset. You can enjoy the moment. Even though you're planning and building, there's a rich mindset and there's a poor mindset. And if you know people like that, you'll pick it up. People who you think they have, but they're always telling you what they don't have, always complaining. And other people have less, but they have a wealthy mindset. So this idea of you can create your reality. You can change your reality. This is very, very important. So what are we talking about with Mashiach? We were saying that Pesach sheini is linked to Mashiach. The first Pesach was not complete. Pesach sheini, we have the capacity to complete the redemption. And that means we need to create a new reality where we make a quantum leap beyond time and space to bring Mashiach now. And I was thinking about this because I was thinking we talk about it, and the Rebbe said it's up to us. And you hear that all we have to do is open our eyes. But we need to do something to change our reality. And one of the ways we do that is living as if we're already in Mashiach. I don't know what all of that means, but I do know the one that's quoted in the UN. It's all about being peaceful, right? The lion will lie down with the lamb. That's one of the things we can change our reality. We can bring peace into our individual lives. We can start living with Mashiach values of actually really being peaceful with the people around us. And it starts at home. It starts at making peace at home and having a peaceful home and making sure that we don't have anger and competition and hostility and aggression. And then it can extend to our extended family and then to the community. But we can bring Mashiach into our lives in that way, create a new reality of actually what it's going to be. The other reality is that also information is going to be very free-flowing. And we have that with the internet, but this is an example of coming to Shiurim, really bringing Torah into our lives, because that's what they say is going to be different. One of the interpretations I've heard that I liked, I'm sure there's many more, but was what's actually going to change. And someone said to me once, they said, you know, you could be running around all week, and then it comes Erev Shabbos, and you put on a white tablecloth, and you light the candles, and you turn off all your gadgets, and you have the serenity. And if you're able to keep Shabbos properly and you're not reading newspapers and talking about the stock exchange or what's worrying you, and you're really in Shabbos mode, you're in your same house with your same kitchen, with the same people, but you're in a different reality. And I think this is the Ramban's interpretation, that's what's going to change. It's going to be Shabbos every day. It's not that we're going to necessarily be in something completely different. It's where our head is going to be at. Now imagine if we can start doing that already now. We can bring Mashiach now. We can be living that reality now. We can change that reality. And it's very, very important because if you actually worry about what's going on in the world, there's plenty to worry about. There's so much going on. But we have to really think about how do we do that. So I read an interesting thing, one of the letters of the Rebbe, where some shaliach years ago, I think he went to Panama or Venezuela, and when he got there, the country was falling apart, and he wrote to the Rebbe, and he said, I don't know what we're going to do, and we haven't got any money, and there's a war, and there's everything. And the Rebbe wrote back, and he said, I didn't send you there to become a political commentator. I sent you there to go on shlichus. And I love politics, and when I read that, I thought, okay, my head is too much in politics. It makes me anxious. I shouldn't be thinking about it. What mitzvah can I do? What shlichus can I get involved in? Because that's what we're in this world for. It's so easy to get caught up in those big pictures that stress us. What is the reality we want to bring into our lives? We can actually change that reality. And the other thought that popped into my head is what I call, what's a bit upsetting, is the Sydney reality we have. And I hear so often, how Sydney people, we go, the Sydney community, we don't have this, or we don't have that, this kind of, we have the most amazing community. We have some of the best teachers in the world. We have all of us. And we've got to stop putting ourselves down and believing we have less than. We have a fabulous reality. We really do. And it's our job to make that a reality. And if we want it to be better, then let's make it better. Let's be like those people that went and said, no, we want more. Each of us, and Stern is very good at this, should be organizing shiurim and inviting people over and getting involved in whatever shlichus that we can do. But change our reality and stop this feeling of feeling sorry and deprived. It's a wonderful thing to be in our community. There are people in all kinds of communities. This is where we're meant to be. This is our community. Let's embrace it and let's make it better. Let's stop complaining and let's just really make it rock. Let's change our reality. Let's take that from tonight and go, Pesach sheini is going to be the beginning of Sydney rocking. The women in Sydney are going to really be amazing. So I want to finish off with a beautiful thing from Rabbi Manis Friedman in the light of having self-esteem and really being aware of our worth and realizing we have a godly soul and what we can do. How we can make our lives better by our mindset, by the way we treat each other, by always wanting to do better and more. And if we do tshuva, to do it from a point of self-esteem and always wanting to grow and be the best we can be. So this is a beautiful thing, and I'm going to read it because otherwise I won't give it justice. It is 3,315 years ago, it might be a bit longer now, I don't know when he wrote this. God asked us if we would marry him. We had an extraordinary wedding ceremony, which was given the Torah, with great special effects, right? We know that what happened, you could see what you could hear, and you could hear what you could see, and there was thunder and lightning. It was unbelievable. After the wedding, Hashem said, I have a few things I'd like to take care of. I'd like you to take care of for me, so please, I'll be right back. And he hasn't been heard of since. Mm-hmm. For more than 3,300 years, he has sent messengers, he sent messages, he sent postcards, writing on the walls. But we haven't heard a word from Hashem in all this time. He says, imagine a couple gets married and the man says to his new wife, would you make me something to eat, please? I'll be right back. She begins preparing. So she begins preparing. The guy comes back 3,300 years later. He walks into the house, up to the table, straight to his favorite chair, sits down, tastes the soup that's on the table. The soup is cold. What will his reaction be? If he's a wise man, he won't complain. Rather, he thinks it's a miracle that the house is still there, his table and his favorite chair are still there. He'll be delighted to see a bowl of soup at his place. The soup is cold? Well, yes. Over 3,300 years, soup can get cold. Now we are expecting Mashiach. If Mashiach comes now and wants to judge, what's he going to find? Cold soup. He will find an incredibly healthy Jewish people. After 3,300 years, we are concerned about being Jewish, which means we are concerned about our relationship with God. Yes, if Mashiach comes today, he'll find our soup is cold. We suffer from separation anxiety. We suffer from loss of connection to our ancestors. We suffer loss of connection even to our immediate family. The soup is cold. The soup is very cold. But whose fault is that? And who gets credit for the fact that there's soup altogether? We are a miracle. All we need is to tap into it. We are the cure, not only for ourselves, but for the whole world. So let Mashiach come now and catch us here with our cold soup, because we have nothing to be ashamed of. We are truly incredible. When God decided to marry us, he knew he was getting a really good deal. A Jew is a child of God. A Jew is a prince. A Jew is the holiest of the holy. A Jew is truly one with God. And when you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel disloyal, the truth is that your ultimate loyalty remains to God, to truth, to holiness. Be proud of yourself. Mashiach is ready to come. Thank you.